I was sitting with this stack of notes last night, the source material we're covering today, and I had this distinct moment of, uh, I guess you could call it vertigo.
Vertigo, like actually dizzy.
Yeah, but purely intellectual vertigo. Usually when we do these deep dives, we're looking at something, tangible, a new tech trend, a historical figure, maybe a productivity hack. You can sort of hold those things in your hand. But today, the scope of this research is just, it's entirely different.
It is. It's certainly the broadest scope we've ever attempted.
Yeah.
We aren't just looking at a slice of the pie today.
No.
We're looking at the bakery. We're looking at the wheat. We're looking at, I don't know, the concept of hunger itself.
Haha, that is a lot of looking. But you're right, and I want to start right in the deep end, if that's okay, because there is a quote in the opening chapter of Reese Freeman's work,
Oh, yeah.
specifically his treatise on the Singularity of Infinity. That actually made me put my coffee down. I had to stop and just stare at the wall for a minute.
I have a feeling I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It has to be. It's the entire premise for his whole theory. It goes like this. You are not merely in the universe. You are the universe, folded inward, aware of itself for a moment in time.
It just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
It does, because we grow up with this very specific model of reality, right? The standard model we learn in school.
Right.
There's a big, cold, empty universe out there. Rocks, stars, gas, and then by some, total accident of chemistry, here we are. We have these tiny biological observers trapped inside of it.
Exactly. The bottom-up view. Matter creates complexity. Complexity creates brains. And then brains eventually create consciousness.
Yeah.
In that model, consciousness is just the steam rising off the engine. It's a byproduct. It doesn't actually do anything. It just sort of watches.
Exactly. But Freeman, he just flips the whole table over.
He really does. He argues that consciousness is the architect. It's not the steam, it's the engine. Or even more accurately, it's the fuel and the engineer. He posits that consciousness is the fundamental dimensional force from which matter, energy, time, even meaning itself arise.
So instead of the brain creating our thoughts.
Consciousness creates the dimensions that allow a brain to exist in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a completely top-down view of reality.
Which sounds, frankly like pure science fiction. Or maybe religion. But what surprised me, and what we're really going to dig into today, is that Freeman doesn't present this as some mystical woo-woo kind of vibe.
No.
He presents it as a blueprint.
That's the key distinction, and that's why we're talking about it. We aren't here to preach a dogma today. We are here to decode a framework. A lens.
A lens, I like that.
Freeman has built what he calls the four-term ontology of becoming. It's a structural map. It combines metaphysics, neuroscience, and, yes, quantum theory to explain exactly how thought bends time and sculpts matter.
And that's our mission today. We are going to walk through this framework, this lens, from the microscopic level of your own thoughts all the way up to what he calls the omniversal field.
It's a journey.
It is. But before we get to the mechanics of the universe, we really have to talk about the guy who built the map. Because Reese Freeman is, he's a character.
You can't really separate the theory from the man in this case. The source material makes a really big deal about his stance on the world. Even his name, Reese Freeman, is presented in the sources as, like, a philosophical statement in itself.
Okay, I have to be honest here. When I first read that part in the notes, where it breaks down the etymology of his name, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. It felt a little convenient, you know, like, oh, look at me, my name is my destiny.
I get that. It can feel a bit like myth-making. But if you look at how he interprets it, it actually reveals a lot about his core logic. Take the re part, R-E-E.
Okay.
The sources define this as one who brings order to chaos.
Sure, that sounds like pretty standard leadership stuff.
But here is the catch. He specifies that bringing order does not mean erasing the storm.
Oh, okay, see, that's different.
It's a vital distinction. Most of us, when we try to fix our lives or understand the world, we want to eliminate the chaos. We want a sterile, predictable, safe life.
We want the storm to stop.
We want the storm to stop. Freeman's perspective is that the storm is the point. The chaos is the raw material. You don't get rid of it. You master the navigation of it. You bring order to it.
Okay, I like that a lot better. It's less about control and more about, buoyancy.
Buoyancy, it's a great word for it. And then you have the second half of the name, Freeman.
Which just sounds like a declaration of independence.
It is. It's a statement that no system, no trauma, no title owns him. And this is crucial for you, the listener, to understand. If you are going to propose a theory that says consciousness creates reality, you have to believe in your own agency.
You can't be a victim.
You can't. If you believe you're just a victim of the universe, this whole theory completely falls apart at the seams.
So he's writing from this place of, like, extreme personal autonomy. The profile describes him as a prophet in denim, which gives me this great mental image. You know, he's not in a robe on a mountain somewhere. He's in a workshop with grease on his hands.
Exactly. Modern hieroglyphics meets backwoods grit. That's the quote from Source.
I love that.
It grounds the high-level concepts. He isn't sitting in some ivory tower just theorizing about the cosmos. He's looking at the patterns of nature, the patterns of trauma in people's lives, and seeing the math behind them.
Speaking of trauma, the notes on his emotional blueprint were heavy. This isn't a guy who had an easy ride.
No, not at all. The sources explicitly mentioned that trauma was his crucible, that betrayal taught him discernment, that loneliness taught him loyalty.
There's that one line that it floored me. I don't speak to be heard. I speak because silence started lying.
Oof.
That hit me hard. Silence started lying. What does that even mean to you in the context of this whole theory?
To me, it implies a compulsion to correct the record. If you look at the world and you see chaos, and everyone around you tells you, yep, that's just how it is, it's random, but you see a pattern.
Then staying silent feels like you're agreeing with the lie.
It feels like a lie of omission. He sees structure where other people just see confusion. The profile calls it his mental signature, that he thinks 4 layers deep.
And what was surprising to me for a guy who talks about the soul of the universe is that he doesn't hate technology. He actually seems to embrace AI.
That surprised me too. Usually metaphysical thinkers view AI as this, soulless abomination that's going to destroy us all.
Right.
But Freeman views it as an amplifier. His quote on it is, "Tools don't create intent, people do."
So if consciousness is the architect, AI is just another power drill in the toolbox.
Precisely. It fits his worldview perfectly.
Yeah.
If you are the Freeman, if you have that core autonomy, then the tool doesn't matter. You are the one driving it.
It really paints a picture of someone who isn't trying to escape reality, but to actively engineer it, which is actually a perfect segue. Let's get into the machinery. We've got the architect. Now let's look at the architecture. This is segment 2, the 4-term ontology.
This is the how-to guide. This is the part of the deep dive where we have to slow down a bit and really look at the mechanics of becoming.
Right. Freeman claims there are 4 distinct stages to get from nothing to something, and he starts, logically enough, with term 1, 0, the void.
Now, we need to be really careful with word zero, because in the West, we think of zero as empty. We think of it as a lack, a deficit.
Yeah, I have $0 in my account. It's a negative thing. It's the absence of stuff.
Exactly. But Freeman defines zero as a metaphysical horizon.
Sure.
Think of the number 0 in mathematics. It's not just nothing. It's a placeholder that allows all other numbers to exist.
Okay.
Or think of it like a radio that's turned on, but it's tuned to a channel with pure static.
So the power is running, but there's no specific broadcast coming through yet.
Exactly. There's a hum of pure potential. Freeman connects this to the element of aether in the Surth dimension, a single dimensionless point. It is the convergence of absence and presence.
Okay, but why is this step necessary? Why can't we just start with the stuff? I mean, why do we need the radiostatic first?
Because you need a canvas. If the universe were already completely full, if every single space was occupied by a chair or a star or a thought, there would be no room to create anything new.
There'd be no freedom to move.
No freedom. Zero is the precondition for freedom. You need a blank space to paint on. If there's no zero, there's no movement, no creation, no becoming.
Okay, I'm with you. We have the blank canvas, the radiostatic, that's term 1. What's term 2?
Term 2 is duality, polarity.
This is the emergence of contrast.
Yes. Freeman maps this to the first dimension, the line. A line connects 2 points. Suddenly you have up and down, left and right, positive and negative, yin and yang.
This feels a bit abstract. Why do we need duality? Why can't we just have, good? Why do we need the bad? Or why can't we just have up? Why do we need a down?
Because without contrast, you have no definition.
Ah.
This is a crucial concept he calls relational identity.
Relational identity.
Imagine you are floating in a perfectly white, illuminated void. There is no floor, no ceiling, no shadows, just pure white light in every direction. Can you tell me where you are?
No, I'd be completely disoriented.
Can you tell me if you're big or small?
No, because there's nothing to compare myself to. I could be a giant or I could be an ant. I'd have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot know self without other. You cannot know light without dark.
Hmm.
Duality provides the fundamental infrastructure of reality. It gives you the coordinate.
With the grid lines on the paper.
It's the difference between a blank page and a page with grid lines on it. Suddenly you have structure, you have the potential for meaning because you have contrast to measure against.
So 0 is the paper, duality is the grid lines. But nothing is really happening yet. It's just a grid. It's still quiet.
It's static potential. That brings us to term 3, observation, the witness.
And this is where consciousness enters the chat.
This is where Freeman pulls in the neuroscience. He talks specifically about thalamocortical dynamics.
Okay, which is a mouthful. What are we actually talking about there in simple terms?
It is a mouthful, but it describes the binding process of the human brain.
Yeah.
Your brain takes in millions of bits of raw, separate data like frequencies, sound waves, temperature changes, and it binds them together into a single, coherent picture.
Ah, okay.
That is observation. It's the act of looking at the grid lines and recognizing the pattern. Connects the second dimension, the plane. You go from a line to a surface.
So term 3 is awareness. It's me looking at the grid and seeing it. But here is the kicker, and I think this is where most people get stuck. We think observing is the end of it. I see the world, therefore the world is real, and my job is just to watch.
And Freeman says, no, that is the trap. Observation is passive. It's just watching. You are just a spectator in the theater. To get to what he calls volitional reality, to get to a world you can actually touch and change, you need term 4.
Choice.
Choice, the core act of creation. Freeman associates this with the element of fire and the third dimension volume. This is where reality gets depth.
This is the part I really want to dig into, because we usually think of choice as just, picking off a menu. I'll have the soup, I'll wear the blue shirt, it feels trivial. But Freeman is saying it's something much heavier, much more structural than that.
So much heavier.
Yeah.
He calls it collapsing the possibility. Think about quantum physics for a second. The famous double-slit experiment.
Okay, quick refresher for everyone listening. That's the experiment where a particle acts like a wave. It's spread out, doing everything at once until you measure it, until you look.
Right. Before you measure it, the particle is in many places at once. It's a cloud of probability. But the moment you look for it, the moment you make a determination, it snaps into one single position. It collapses from a wave of potential into a particle of fact.
Okay.
Freeman argues that human choice does this on a macro scale for reality itself.
So let's apply that to real life. Before I make a choice, let's say a big life choice like taking a new job or ending a relationship, the future it's a quantum wave. It's a cloud.
Infinite potential. Both futures and a million others exist as possibilities in the zero. But the moment you commit, the moment you exercise your will and choose, you collapse all those infinite maybes into one singular is.
Wow.
You literally force the universe to solidify around your decision. Its quote is, "The act of choosing between polarities is not merely mentality, it is the core act of creation."
That makes you feel incredibly powerful, but also kind of terrified, because it means if I don't choose, if I just drift, I'm just living in a cloud.
Or worse. If you don't choose, you are living in someone else's collapse. You are living in the default settings created by society, by your family, by advertising.
You're living in their reality.
You are living in their volitional reality. You aren't just walking on a path that was already paved. You are paving the stones with every single step you take.
And that leads to the 5th term he mentions briefly, right? Manifestation.
Yes, manifestation is simply the result. It's the concrete drawing on the path you just laid. It's the physical reality that forms after the choice is made. The loop is complete. Thought moves through duality and observation, is acted upon by choice, and becomes manifestation.
It completely reframes the idea of regret, doesn't it? Regret is just looking back at a collapse you didn't like.
Precisely. But the empowering part is that the mechanism never stops. You are always, right now, at the precipice of the next collapse.
So that's the mechanism. That's the engine under the hood. Now let's scale this up and see how it works. Freeman divides reality into 5 scales, or 5 levels, and level 1 is where we just were. The individual, the microsingularity, that's you and me.
Level 1 is the microsingularity. Freeman describes the individual not as a tiny, insignificant speck in a huge universe, but as a microcosm embodying the universe's boundless potential.
I just love the term microsingularity. It sounds so much better than person. But at this level, he talks about thought as a dimensional initiator. This goes back to what we said in the intro about thought creating the brain, not the other way around.
This connects directly back to the idea of creating from the inside out. Freeman really challenges the listener here. He says thought isn't just internal noise. We tend to think of our thoughts as this private internal narration that doesn't touch the outside world.
Right, like we're in a soundproof booth. I can think whatever I want. Nobody knows.
Freeman argues that thought creates an internal map or a blueprint before you even perceive the external world. You are projecting a structure onto reality.
So we don't just record the world like a camera passively taking pictures.
No. We build a model, and then we project that model onto the energy field around us and interpret the data through that lens. If you walk into a room expecting hostility, your brain will literally scan for micro-expressions of anger and ignore the smiles.
You're preloading the software.
You are sculpting your experience with your expectations. You are initiating that dimension of the room before you've even said a word.
That's wild. So I'm basically setting the stage for the play before the curtain even goes up.
Exactly.
He also talks about bending time at this individual level. Now, I've forgotten my keys plenty of times, but I've never actually bent time. Is this sci-fi time travel, or is he talking about something else?
It's more practical than sci-fi, but it's just as mind-bending. He's talking about the non-linear nature of our consciousness. Think about memory.
Okay.
When you really remember something, a trauma, a first kiss, a major success, you are not just looking at a flat photograph. You are pulling the emotions, the lessons, the sensations from the past, and reintegrating them into the now.
You're reliving it.
You're keeping the past alive. That is a form of time travel. You are folding the timeline to bring a past moment into the present.
I see. So the past isn't gone. It's just stored.
It's accessible. And foresight is the exact same mechanism, just in the other direction. He calls it pre-living the future. When you are anxious about a big meeting next week, what are you doing?
Playing it out in my head.
You're projecting your awareness forward in time to run simulations, to navigate challenges before they happen physically. Freeman's point is that thought allows the individual to stand outside of linear time. You can connect past, present, and future into a single unified flow.
That's a really cool way to frame anxiety. It's not a malfunction. It's a dimensional skill. It's just maybe a skill we haven't learned to use properly yet.
It is. It's a tool. And then you have intuition and creativity. Freeman describes these as bridges to unseen structures. His phrase is bridges to layers logic cannot reach.
I like that distinction, logic versus creativity.
Logic is linear. It goes A to B to C.
Yeah.
It's very safe. It stays on the paved road. Creativity allows a new idea to bubble up from the void, from that term 1-0 we talked about.
It's pulling something out of the static.
It's bringing something into existence that wasn't there before. It is the micro-singularity, you accessing the source code directly.
So that's us. We are the individual architects, bending time and creating from the inside out. But, of course, we don't live in a vacuum. We live with billions of other micro-singularities. This brings us to level 2, humanity and planetary consciousness.
This is where things get sociological and a little bit trippy. Freeman describes the collective scale as a lattice of co-thinking minds.
A lattice, like a web or a net.
Exactly. Imagine individual minds are like neurons in a giant brain. Level 2 is the emergent consciousness of the brain that those neurons form together. Our individual thoughts interact, they blur, they merge.
And this creates what he calls consensus reality. I found this part fascinating because it explains why changing the world is so damn hard.
It creates a filter. That's the critical concept here. Freeman argues that what we call reality, the laws of physics we agree on, the social norms, what's possible, what's impossible, is just a filtered slice of the total dimensional field.
Can you give me a practical example of the filter? How does that work?
Sure. Think about how a culture defines what is possible. In the Middle Ages, dragons and miracles were part of the consensus reality. People experienced the world through that lens. They saw things that we today would say are impossible.
Because their filter was different.
Their filter was different. Today, we have a materialist scientific lens. We literally see a different world because our collective belief system filters out the magic, or what we would call magic.
So because we all agree that this is how the world works, that agreement actually solidifies it and makes it work that way.
To a large extent, yes. Collective beliefs, our culture, our religions, our science, act as powerful lenses. If the collective doesn't believe something is possible, it tends to be filtered out of the shared experience. As Freeman puts it, culture is consciousness writing reality.
That is heavy. It suggests that if we collectively changed our minds about what is possible, reality itself could actually shift.
That is the radical implication.
Yeah.
We are constantly reinforcing the walls of our cage with every agreed-upon limitation.
And he goes even further to describe the Earth itself. He doesn't view the planet as just a big rock we live on. He views Earth as a conscious node.
A sentient entity, an active participant in the cosmic system. We are the neurons, but Earth is the body we inhabit, and he posits that it has its own form of awareness.
It totally changes how you look at environmentalism, doesn't it? It's not just save the resources so we don't die. It's about respecting a relationship with a living, conscious being.
It becomes about alignment, as Freeman would say.
That's
You
it.
cannot be an effective architect if you're actively destroying the foundation you stand on.
Okay, so everyone strap in because we are leaving Earth now. We're going past the human lattice. Level 3, cosmic consciousness, the galactic scale.
Now we are widening the lens significantly.
Okay.
Freeman asserts that intelligence isn't just biological. It can be organic, yes, but also digital, quantum, and even vibrational.
Digital and vibrational intelligence spanning light years. Okay, we're not talking about little green men in saucers here. This is something else entirely.
No, this is way beyond that. We are talking about vast fields of organized energy, or computational networks that span entire star systems. And he calls these different advanced civilizations dimensional modulators.
Dimensional modulators, that sounds like a piece of tech from Star Trek.
It does, doesn't it? But think about what a modulator does. It changes the frequency of a wave.
Right.
Freeman suggests that different civilizations act as unique flavors or lenses for the infinite. They don't just watch the universe, they actively transform it, they modulate it.
And the source material lists some specific abilities here that are pretty out there. It says they can rewrite local timelines.
And, even more mind-bendingly, adjust the fundamental constants of physics within their sphere of influence.
Wait. That is a staggering thought, that physics isn't the same everywhere. That if you have a powerful enough consciousness, you can literally tweak gravity or the speed of light in your neighborhood of the galaxy.
That is the assertion. It implies that physics isn't a fixed, ironclad cage we're trapped in. Physics is more like a habit of the universe, and an advanced consciousness can change the habit locally.
So the laws of nature are modulated by the consciousness observing them.
It tracks back to the quantum theory inspiration in his work, the observer effect, but on a galactic scale.
If a microsingularity like us can collapse a choice between soup and salad,
Imagine what a galactic consciousness can collapse. It can collapse timelines. It can choose between gravity being a weak force or a strong force within its domain.
my mind is officially blown. It makes our problems feel very small, but at the same time, it makes our potential feel absolutely infinite. But we aren't done. Level 4, universal consciousness, the universe as a mind.
We are now looking at the container for everything we've just discussed. Freeman says the universe, the whole thing, is literally a sentient mind.
He calls it the divine operating system.
Yes. And at this level, physical laws like thermodynamics or gravity are the outward signs of this inner awareness. They are the rules of the game that the mind has set for itself.
He uses a dream analogy here that I found really helpful because talking about a universal mind can get so abstract it's hard to hold on to.
The dream analogy is really the best way to understand this level. Think of when you dream at night. In your dream, there is a floor, right? There is gravity. You can pick up a cup.
Sure, it feels real.
But what is that cup made of? Is it made of atoms?
No, it's made of my mind. It's made of me.
Exactly. The cup is made of you. The gravity is made of you. Freeman says matter is the substance of the dream. Time is the narrative thread of the dream.
So the universe creates these rules, gravity, time, entropy, just to maintain consistency while it experiences itself, to make the story work.
Correct. If the dream kept changing rules every second, if gravity suddenly shut off or the cup turned into a dragon, then back to a cup, you couldn't have a coherent experience. You couldn't learn anything.
It would just be chaos.
It would just be chaos.
Mm-hmm.
The universe creates a stable dimensional dream so that it can have a story with characters and plot and learning.
And what's the point of the story? Why go to all this trouble to dream us up?
To explore possibility. Freeman says every galaxy, every star, and every single person is a unique focus point, a unique lens for this single universal mind to explore what it can do and what it can be.
So we are the universe wearing a human suit for a little while, seeing what it feels like to drink coffee and pay taxes.
And to fall in love, and to suffer loss, and to create art. It's all data. It's all experience for the universal mind. It's the universe trying to surprise itself.
And finally, we reach the top of the ladder, or maybe it's the bottom, the center, level 5, the universal field, the source.
The infinite singularity. The original matrix.
How is this different from level 4? Level 4 was the universe as a mind. Isn't that everything?
The distinction is subtle, but it's really important. Level 4 is the universe as a mind. That's the dream in progress. Level 5 is the source of the dream. It's the dreamer before the dream even starts. Freeman describes this as the source code. He calls it the isness.
The isness.
Yes. Here, consciousness is not in the universe.
Yeah.
Consciousness is the field that creates the dimensions in the first place. It is the underlying isness that allows anything to be. It contains the roots of all timelines, all universes, all possibilities in a single unified thought.
It's the static potential we talked about before the broadcast begins.
Exactly. Back to the radio analogy. Level 5 is the electricity powering the entire station. It's the raw potential before any station is even tuned in.
It's surprisingly comforting in a way, that underneath all the noise and the timelines and the politics and the drama, there is this unified field of just being. It's a floor that doesn't drop out from under you.
It connects right back to term 1, 0, the void. We have served it all the way back to the beginning, but on an infinite scale.
And that circling back is actually the final piece of this incredible puzzle. We've climbed the ladder, but now Freeman ties it all into a knot. Segment 8, the unified loop.
He calls this concept fractal recursion.
Which means, in simple terms,
it means the pattern of the whole is repeated in the smallest part. Think of a fern leaf. If you zoom in on a tiny piece of a fern, it looks exactly like the whole fern, or a coastline, or a snowflake.
The macro is in the micro.
Exactly. Freeman argues the omniverse at level 5 has the same fundamental structure as the micro-singularity at level 1.
So I really am the universe folded inward. That opening quote wasn't just poetry, it was geometry.
It was literal. You are the same pattern, just playing out at a different scale. And there is a dimensional engine, a cycle, that drives this entire system. The sources describe a constant feedback loop that keeps the universe running and learning.
Walk us through that loop. How does the engine actually turn?
It have 3 main beats, a 3-stroke engine, if you will. First, initiation. Thought transforms into matter. Ideas become real. This is the becoming. This is the architect drawing the blueprints and the choice collapsing reality.
Okay, thought becomes thing. We've covered that part pretty well.
Second beat, evolution. Matter evolves into awareness. The universe grows eyes and ears and a nervous system, that's us and other beings, and it starts to sense itself. The rock becomes a plant, the plant becomes an animal, the animal becomes a poet who can write about the rock.
Got it. And third, what's the third stroke?
Feedback. This is the crucial step that closes the loop. Awareness transforms back into thought. We reflect on our lives, we learn from our experiences, we create meaning, we tell stories, and that data, that meaning, returns to the whole.
So the purpose of the entire loop, the reason for all this insane complexity from neurons to galaxies, is so the infinite singularity can know itself.
Exactly. Without the loop, the infinite is just static potential. It knows everything but experiences nothing. We are the sparks that allow the source to experience subjectivity. We provide the surprise, the emotion, the unique specific perspective.
That's really beautiful. It gives a lot of dignity to the human experience, even the really messy parts. It implies that my confusion, my struggle, my joy, it's all valuable data for the cosmos.
It completely reframes struggle as essential data gathering. You aren't failing. You're exploring a specific coordinate of the infinite map for the good of the whole.
So we've decoded the architect, we've mapped the 5 levels of reality, and we've closed the loop. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. What does this all mean? How do we walk out of the studio and look at the world differently after this?
I think it brings us back to the image of the mirror. Freeman says the singularity of infinity is a mirror. Consciousness looks into it and sees itself reflected in everything, in dreams, in the world, in each other.
It's a call to stop seeing yourself as separate from everything else.
And it's a call to responsibility. That is the biggest takeaway for me. If you are the micro-singularity and your choice is the core act of creation, then you aren't just living in the world, you're actively building it.
You are the architect of your local slice of the universe.
You are, every day, every choice.
That leads me directly to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. We talk about how choice collapses possibility into reality. We talk about how we are paving the road as we walk on it.
Yes.
So here's the question I want to leave you with. If you are the universe folded inward and your very next choice is an act of dimensional engineering, what reality are you going to collapse into existence next?
Because, as Freeman reminds us in his closing thoughts, what you are seeking has already begun seeking you.
Be an active architect, everyone. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next time.